I guess.
Shit, yeah, man. You know what? See, Max, I'm gonna be.
This is water.
Yes, this is water.
Very
Yeah,
heavily
I'm on
flavored
my
water.
third
Yes,
glass
it's
of water
very
and
heavy
legal
water.
substances.
It's
If-
water
no,
with
Sneaky-
extra heft.
No, Sneaky, you're not supposed to drink heavy water. That's bad. It's bad for you.
You can't
No,
stop
no,
me.
Yeah.
keep
I will
drinking the
gain.
heavy water.
I will gain superpowers, and you can't stop me, Max.
Hey, listen, water with asbestos isn't really good for your health, bro.
But it tastes so good, though.
I'm sure it does. You know what?
Imagine
I don't know why I'm trying to talk you
flavor.
out of this. You both desire to be not in this world any longer.
Exactly.
For real.
I guess if you're going out, at least you're going out with something you like the taste of.
I suppose so.
Is it true that your vision goes yellow once you drink contaminated water?
Probably.
If there's enough records of it, it's probably true.
Well,
I guess that depends. What kind of water contamination are we talking about here?
Well, see, the thing is that the water contamination.
Have you heard of yellow snow?
I mean, after your dog's done with it, sure. Yes, I know it's
Then there you
not
go.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, never mind.
No, your vision, I suppose, technically could actually go yellow if your liver and kidneys overload and aren't able to get rid of all the contaminants.
I mean, you would have to be hilariously contaminated for that to happen.
Oh yeah, certainly. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Guest Star, you will lose your guest star rights if you do not control your mic.
Me. I will
Yes.
control my mic as much as possible.
Yeah, so it either means put it on push to talk or you're being forced on to push to talk. If you're gonna have clack clack tip tap clack clap in the background.
Oh, I can just move that to the side, no problem. You will have my full and undivided attention.
I don't need your
It's not about
undivided
your
attention.
It's about your silence.
I just need you to not be click clacking into the mic. I don't care if you're fucking, jacking off while speaking to us. I just don't want to know about it.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, I took care of that before getting on.
I'm sure you did. Anyway, so gentlemen, this is Fanfiction, Contempt 9000, and speaking of jokes, welcome to the circus. We have a new guest here. He's got a story that he thinks he can write, so we're going to cover that first, and then we're going to torture him with the most audacious fanfiction possible.
Excellent.
Oh, goody.
I probably also should get out of Minecraft. There we go.
That might help a
The
tiny bit.
mind's call, Sneaky. You cannot escape.
Yeah. Well.
He yearns
Yes.
for the mines.
No, Gray yearns for the mines. I yearn for growing factories.
I have
Nice.
made a
Yeah.
giant asshole.
Okay, so Gray just fulfills the exact same function I did.
Yes.
Give us a pick and a shovel. We'll be back in like 4 hours. Don't look for us.
Yes.
Oh no. I am on day 2 of making a 3x3 chunk hole.
I am currently doing the opposite because of obviously. I am currently building a chunk by chunk pyramid. So each level of the pyramid is its own chunk. And I make the steps 10 deep.
Mm.
I see Sneaky has activated his autism proclivities.
Yes,
Of course.
obviously. Speaking of which, guys, I have a new locomotion method. It's called, you go really fast on a belt and I shoot you like a fucking railgun.
Excellent.
I see.
Yes. It's a locomotion method that I'm patent pending right now.
Nice.
Yes. Anyway, so, Mr. R, tell us about your story here before we start reading so we know what we're getting into.
Alright, real brief. It's kind of a mix of genres. I was going for thriller, cosmic horror, and mystery, I guess.
Okay.
About a series of crimes that begins with a very strange hallucination. And from that point on, things start to unravel themselves. I'll let you guys be the judge of everything else moving forward.
So, basically, your generic Lovecraftian story.
Well, kinda, yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, you know, if you're trying to dress it up all you want, that's basically 90% of Lovecraftian stories.
No, you got a point there. The
Well,
only...
no, hang on. Does he have the other 5% of Lovecraft, which is barely concealed anti-Semitism?
Well, he
Not
is
yet, sorry. It's
Scandinavian.
only on chapter
It
1.
was-
No. He's
Fairly
Serbian.
concealed anti a lot
Oh, he's
of stuff.
he's Middle European. Oh, geez, yeah, no, that's
Oh no, he's a Balkaner.
oh,
specifically.
even worse.
Is this safe to have him on this podcast?
It might be. Not.
Fingers crossed.
It's even worse, you know. My main character is one of those foulest creatures known to man, a woman.
I'm
Well,
starting to regret this.
we lasted a whole 6 minutes.
That was impressive.
You know, I don't know
I've
if
said
this-
worse things. I've said worse things. It's not an offense.
Also,
And
I want
we
to point
lost.
out, just because you've said worse things doesn't make what he said fine.
I know.
It just
I
means
know.
you've
I'm-
said worse things.
Anyway, so
It was
enough
fun.
of the sexist Olympics over here. Let's get into the story before Twitch decides to finally pay attention to us and ban us.
Surely.
So we have our main character here. Michael had a long day at work. Working in investment banking has paid off tremendously over the years, so much so that he now owns his own firm. Windfall after windfall, they just kept upgrading, and in the main building alone, they can staff over 250 people. Okay.
Bro, how fucking big... Do they understand that if that person is staffing 250 people in an investment bank, they're God? Like...
Well, no, hold
Well,
on.
you can ask him. He's right here.
Yeah, I mean,
I know,
the author is right
it's
here.
a lot of people.
I mean, maybe it's a giant scam. You know, maybe they need all 250 people because it's just a giant pyramid scam.
Honestly, scheme.
Oh, you know
That's
what?
true.
I'd get points right now if that's the intended thing. Get half points if you decide to take that though, because you didn't think about it till now.
Yeah.
I hope you're not that liberal for giving points because that was not the intention. I was just trying to make a very loose connection to well, I was just trying to make a generic company, and I
Okay.
guess I overstepped the boundaries a little bit.
When making generic companies, you might want to investigate how many people said generic company typically hires for their size.
Yeah.
Because as Atin
Just to give you a
says,
ballpark frame of reference, I work for a multi-million-dollar a year manufacturing company. We have 250 people. When I went to high school, I had friends whose fathers did day trading. They made multiple millions, and they had 4 people in the office.
Yeah.
5, if you included the dad.
yeah, like law firms, like 10 is a lot of people in a law firm. Normally it's like probably it's either going to be father and sons, or it's going to be father, best friend, and their sons. So it's going to be like 4 or 5. I would say in quite a number of the clients that we've served, I would see an average employee count of anywhere from a small firm of 4 people for various contracting jobs to I think that the largest company we served has like 300 people, and they are literally a international company with bases across Europe, America, South America, and Asia. And they have a total of like 350 people. Like the only time you see 250 people be like not a lot is in the ground floor manufacturing jobs, where you have like a massive plant, and then across 3 shifts you have like maybe 300 people.
Maybe that's something I could have gone for instead, but somehow it smelled too much of the Innsmouth thing from H.P. Lovecraft, and I didn't want to rip him off completely and just wear his skin.
I mean, yeah, obviously, when you talk about smaller towns, a manufacturing plant with a large manufacturing base, and pretty much the entire town is employed by it. Yeah, obviously, yeah. But if you're trying to have a shit ton of people, you're not really going to have a lot of businesses capable of hosting that many. Pretty much, it's the times you get a shit ton of people like that, it's either going to be, security businesses, multinational security businesses. It's going to be, across the nation, manufacturing companies, or if you're talking about a single factory, it has to be a massive factory to have something around like 300 people. I mean, I remember regularly if we raided a factory at ICE, we would typically get around 450 illegals per factory. So there's that as well. So I mean, but I'm talking like these are like this factory goes down and 5% of America's production goes down. So like that's like 450 people from one factory is like 5% of America's production, right? Yeah, it's numbers are hard. If the numbers themselves aren't vitally important, if there's no part of the story where it's like there was 250 people in this company, and then he comes in one day and there's 248, and now there's 237, and no one remembers them existing. If it's like that sort of situation, I can understand you giving an exact number, but it might just be better to be vague here.
No. This is kind of a passing detail. I was just trying to make it a point that the character Michael has been very successful and has developed a lot, like exponentially. It's more supposed to be a symbol of affluence, I guess, instead of an actual number or any significant part of the story.
Yeah, so
in that case, you're gonna. So one thing that I will say,
yeah.
You did pick investment banking, so this is a lot easier. But any kind of finance-related thing generally happens in big cities, right? An example: that stock trader, friend, his father that I told you about, he moved his office from 2 hours outside Chicago once he had enough money to the 56th floor of the building, not across from the Chicago Stock Exchange, but that was directly across the street from the main hub for all of Chicago's internet. So that he had that much more of a millisecond to make his trades. So, generally speaking, you're not going to find high finance in the middle of nowhere. Nation agnostic, right?
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere will generally not contain a high finance thing. If you want him to just have made a bank and done a good job taking care of the town's money, and more people liked him over whatever the other bank in the area was, yeah, that's a great one. Like, you can do that. If you're looking for just general wealth, you can do things like he started a small construction company or something.
Yeah. Also, on top of that, generally, when you're writing in a story, you want to avoid hard numbers because that starts to make people think about said numbers. And if said numbers aren't important, those numbers are still going to stick around as when people think about your story of like, oh, there's 250 people in this building. And then you're like, oh, it's like 2 stories high. And they're like, 250 people inside a 2-story building? Could it fit that many? And like, see, like I say, like now people are starting to think about like the 250 people, even though it's not important. If you just leave it vague and you're like, now he employs many people, that leaves it in the realm of the reader's imagination of however many people they think work at an investment bank. So if they're stupid, and they're like, oh, like that's got to be hundreds of people. Or if they're smart, they'll be like, oh, that's got to be like 20 people. Either way, it's leaving it up to the reader to think about what a very many amount of people is. So
Yeah, okay. To get back to what Atin said,
yeah,
I wasn't going for a small town. This
Okay.
doesn't really happen in a small town. It's supposed to be happening in a larger city
okay.
where there are many people who already have a certain amount of accrued wealth. But this is a pilot. I haven't given it proper development yet. I have a rough idea of what it's supposed to be. As for the 2-story building thing, this is the 2-story thing which you mentioned is gonna be relevant later, but it's not a small building. Still, concerning the details,
I would say the size of the building doesn't matter. I just mentioned that the
yeah.
guy took because the guy took
No,
whatever space he
I
could on
mentioned
that
this.
building.
No, well, we didn't even get to the sides of the building yet. I was just using that as a random example I pulled out of my ass. But my
Yeah,
point was more along the lines of if you give an exact number, people are going to start trying to apply the exact number to everything else you're giving. And as an author, you typically want to avoid situations like that. Because numbers ruin narrative. If you've ever read a gamer story of fan fiction, you learn that pretty quickly.
I have, and I've seen certain novels which use. Well, actually, no. They don't really use exact numbers properly. They use rough approximations when it comes to military numbers, things like that, people circulating in certain circles. But yeah, okay, you got a point.
Yeah. Don't give exact numbers, because people then start thinking in exact numbers. Their offices are decked out with top-of-the-line computers, and every single office computer was effectively modified to give the most privacy to every worker. So what's a fucking bunker? They put like cubicle walls above each cubicle as well to isolate the worker to the maximum amount.
That
By
sounds
the way,
great.
I got one real quick question.
Yeah.
Later on in the story, there is something a little bit more touchy-feely, something that you guys might have a problem with concerning Twitch TOS.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be narrating through the whole thing, just be sure to watch out for it. It's going to be on the same page.
All right. Yeah.
Good to
Sure.
know.
I mean, like, hey, we walked straight into like a 5-year-old raping some 21-year-old before, so
Yeah.
That is the correct way around. Unfortunately.
yeah.
Shit, you guys too? We had a VTuber in our Discord doing the same thing.
Oh no.
All right. Well.
Wait, like they were just reading stories?
Oh, hey, we got Sign, the legendary author here.
Oh boy.
I feel like that's meant to be insulting.
What? Me? Insult people?
Yes.
No. Never happened before.
Never be me. Let's see what else we got here. We got he looked on over the city. A beautiful, baleful moon cast its pearly light over the fireflies in the cityscape windows. A night like any other. He'd finished work for the day, so all he really wanted was to gaze down and into the night. Despite the beauty, he'd been afraid as of late. He could feel something nagging at his thoughts. In the back of his mind, he could hear a distant siren for alarm, like a lighthouse signaling a ship to come home. He could easily imagine the bells chiming, and for a moment he swore he could hear them. They kept getting louder and louder, signaling an unnamed ship to enter the harbor through the mists. He could feel the brine on his skin, the salt water biting his nostrils. What in imagination he thought, trying to take his mind away from the sound of the bells, but despite his best attempts, they were only getting louder. Okay, so I will say here, I'm assuming English second language because Balkans.
Yep.
Yep.
Was this originally written in English, or was this translated? Like, what's your goal here? Are you planning on selling this story in English, or are you trying to sell it in Balkanese?
To be fair, a little bit of both, I guess. I mean, I grew up with English, like, it was, I was learning it parallel with Serbian. So if there's any translation errors,
Right.
yeah, brain autocorrects.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I wasn't going to talk too much on that, but I will say is that a lot of the sentences, and this might be because of how Serbian works, a lot of the sentences are kind of stilted, and there's a lot of repetition going on that I don't think you were aiming for in the narrative of, he works at an investment bank. The investment bank is big. The investment bank has many people. The investment bank is like this. The investment bank looks like this. The investment bank has like this. And now he is standing here, and he is looking at the window, and the window has stuff in it. It's like I'm bumping my head walking downstairs.
A bit
Great.
exaggerated, but not incorrect.
Yeah, obviously exaggerated for the point, but mixing metaphors in that particular segment, pick one, fuck you.
His segment that you read.
Oh, his segment, okay. And yeah, and that is, which brings me to the next point of, unfortunately, when it comes to Lovecraftian stories, the environmental and atmospheric narrative is very important to get down correctly, to give the reader, the sense of dread, the sense of, bewilderment, to properly show the reader when things are going wrong in the narrative of, where the sentences become short and choppy because the person can't think straight anymore, and they're their vision's blurring around, and as they're stumbling around, they're only able to pick out bits and pieces now. When you don't even, and that sort of narrative method allows you to not do, and then they were dizzy and they stumbled around. And you can move into the chairs swam period, and the sky met the earth, fucking metaphor out the ass, whatever, right? You get the point, though, is that instead of just telling the audience this person is dizzy and confused, you get to show it in the narrative by how they narrate the story to the audience. But that only works so long as the narrative itself is clean enough for the audience to understand when it's getting messy because of the story and not because of a language mishap.
Also only works if your audience's IQ is high enough to understand that that's what's fucking going on.
Oh, well, I mean, sure, but if you're going to write to the lowest common denominator, you shouldn't be writing a Lovecraftian story anyway.
Yeah, you would go right port, right side?
Yeah.
Yes.
You would go write porn.
Yes.
To be fair, Sign has a different problem of he gets paid to cater to what is generally speaking the lowest common denominator.
That too.
I mean,
Or, at least the horniest denominator.
Yeah.
I am trying super hard not to violate Twitch TOS right now. You guys made me. Never mind.
Yeah, feel free. Listen, if you can't hold it in, feel free to type it in the Discord.
Yeah, the Discord is a safe space.
Well,
Yeah, mostly.
Oh, don't worry. I'm typing it in Fauna's Discord.
Oh god.
Oh,
Really? Oh, not over there, man. Come on. They don't need this.
Oh, they need it. Believe me.
Speaking of which, I do have a secret weapon to slap everyone here with. Let's see, where was it? I posted it in Fiction Discussion, I believe. Yes, here we go. We'll be discussing this next.
Oh, you hit me with that earlier. I just kind of sat there for 30 seconds like, is this a legit ad?
Yeah.
Oh, this shit.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, unfortunately, I thought it was Alpha Breeder at first. It wasn't.
Oh no.
This is
This saga
God,
again.
This is like when we got Kindlevella.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, unfortunately, if you're gonna try and write a story for both Serbian and English audiences, you're probably gonna end up having to rewrite one version of the story due to how language is transmitted.
Or get somebody to go over it with a fine-tooth comb and do that part for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
or get
that's
someone
why
like
we're here.
someone like a beta reader to do it, because I charge. If you're gonna have me actually sit there and.
I go by the adage of if you want to do something right, you better do it yourself.
You aren't wrong. However, when it does come to writing, there is a reason why even George R.R. Martin has beta readers and editors. It's because when you write something, you know the tone you wrote it in. You know the details that aren't there yet. You know the story. And your brain is going to fill in the spots that are missing with your knowledge. So when you read over your story, you end up missing a lot. Like, you'll read this section and be like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense, the narrative's great. But that's because you, as an English parallel language, we'll call it Serbian, wrote it thinking in Serbian and English as you wrote it. And then you wrote it in that way because of the mixed language. And then someone who only speaks English is going to read this and be like, why am I reading C-Spot Run?
Yeah, you got a good point there. I've already been called out on that several times.
No. I mean, it's very common.
Yeah, no, like I said, that's just how language works. Learning multiple languages is proven to change how people think because the way language is structured is it changes fundamental thought patterns. So it's no surprise that when someone learns multiple languages or learns a language that's not their native one, it will leak in one direction, or two, or three.
Yeah. I know that.
Yeah, right on.
Surely. Ship shape, never.
Yeah, good point.
Screw this, I must be tired, he thought. I'll send you, someone hit him with the, dialogue tags post.
Wait. Oh, that one, yeah. No.
Yeah.
I don't know it.
Oh, fine, I'll freaking dig it up. Dialogue.
Yeah, I noticed about that I should be using hyphens instead. I've been using them for all my life, and it's so difficult to change over to the obvious and less confusing version.
Hyphens? Where?
No,
What are you talking about?
Dashes. Sorry, dashes.
No, I know what that is. I'm just saying, what do you mean you should be using them?
no,
I've been using
missing for
quotation
biology.
marks this entire time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how English is
so-
written.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can also use the dashes for simplicity's sake,
No, you
and they
can't.
fall under.
What are
You-
you
you
talking
should.
about?
Fuck
No,
you.
it's literally not how English is written. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
an
well,
Eastern
that's
European
how
thing.
it is.
Yeah, that's an Eastern
Yeah,
European
right.
thing. Yeah.
You talking about for quotations?
Yeah, for dialogue. You literally will never see someone outside of Eastern Europe write dialogue in dashes.
Yuck.
Yuck, you mean superior grammar skills.
Inferior grammar skills, because in English you use hyphens for interrupts.
Yeah.
Or when you're combining words to make a unique word that doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
Like, the fuck is... Man.
Like Saichan.
Sorry,
Yeah.
dude, hyphen on hyphen,
So
lesser
the
grammatical.
hyphen dialogue is
Cancer.
most common in French.
French, yeah.
You want to be French?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, if you're gonna be French here, I don't think we can continue reading this.
Oui, je mange le pois. Oui, baguette.
Yes, but anyway, when I was saying dialogue tags, I specifically meant your commas are outside of your dialogue, which is not how English is written.
Ah, fuck, I actually thought that was how it was written. My bad.
No, pretty much like 99% of the time, commas, periods, and any other sort of punctuation will be inside the dialogue. There is times where it's outside of the dialogue, but that's usually because you're not using actual dialogue, you're just using quotation marks to indicate that something is not that thing, so the period would be outside.
And now that you mention it, I remembered why I was using punctuation like that. It's a Serbian thing.
Yes, I realize that the Balkans are a little bit behind on the times of how to write, but
Hey, Sneaky, how about we just stick to, it's not how it's done these days. The gentleman has been good enough to give us something that is, at least nominally speaking, not dog shit.
Yeah.
I expect that's high praise in these circles.
Considering
You'll
what
see.
you usually read,
Considering what you're going to see, if we can get through this fast enough, yeah, you'll understand very quickly why this is above grade.
Well, I mean, better hurry up in that case. We're already half an hour in, and we haven't even gotten through the first page.
No,
It's a
that's,
low
that
bar
is
to
standard.
change.
that's pretty average.
that's normal.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Of course, you're also being given like actual feedback, so
Yeah,
that's
that's
slowing
also
the
true.
process
We're
down a
not-
little
yeah.
bit.
Oh, absolutely. I
Well,
mean, that's
feedback
perfectly
in a
fine.
rather meandering, somewhat rude way, but
Meandering
that's
sometimes
just
is the best way to do it. There had been no one left in the offices, so he went to the bathroom to splash some water in his face.
Had been?
I'm not really sure what those two statements have anything to do with each other. Would he not
No.
splash his face with water if there's people left in the office?
No, it was a point. I was trying to point out that there was this huge building that had a lot of offices and was incredibly vacant. So
Right.
he
Yeah, this is probably going to be one of those moments of Serbian and English being a little bit different. But basically, what you just said is, because I have no food in the fridge, I decided to eat out. It's like, that makes sense. But you went like, because there's no food in the fridge, I walked my dog. It's like, oh, wait, what? Why? Those two statements have nothing to do with each other.
Fair enough. I was supposed to refine that a little bit better.
Yeah,
Oh well,
a good
for next round of editing.
yeah, like super simple American middle school when it meant something. Revision would be like on his way to splash some face, on his way to the restroom to splash his face. He knows that no one was around for some reason or
Well,
something.
if you want to add
Super simple.
atmosphere to this whole thing, it would be more like, as he turned around to go into the bathroom to splash his face with some water to clear his head, his steps echoed through the empty halls of the now quiet office building. Something like that.
Yeah, that works.
The tap water hit his face and the world around him fell away. A deep starless night had grabbed a hold of their ship. The seas expanded in all directions like an oil slick with no end. Only in the distance he could gleam something white and vast. He didn't know how or why, but he could swear the pyramid was made of porcelain. The closer they got through the endless waters, the more details about it revealed themselves. Yeah, again, phrasing issue. It was cracked in many places, and had long, thin veins of gold meandering across its surface from the base. They cut off somewhere along the halfway point and grew thicker and crimson. He shouted at the sailors to hold fast for the next wave as they were close to landing. Finally, as they touched the base of the pyramid, he could see its peak, blackened from the cracks and veins congregating, filled with a viscous ichor that he could feel was still flowing, and atop it all, a red stain oozing down its sides. It wasn't a matter of question, he had to go there. The ship marooned on the shore of black sand, and he could see that this wasn't a pyramid, but a stairwell. Enthralled by the sight, he climbed, memories of his life swimming before his eyes. Whispers wormed into his mind, and cracks began to appear in his vision, getting worse with each step he took. His foot sloshed into the crimson liquid as he reached the peak, only to see two figures standing before him. One pressed a knife to the other's throat with one hand, while its fingers wandered beneath the thin blouse of the other. And this is the part that breaks TOS.
Yes, I was about to say that.
A loud cracking came from above, not of thunder, but of something breaking. As he fell from the window of his office, he wondered if the moon had eyes, and was it looking, and was it always broken this way? Its baleful light touched him, and he was shattered. Sergeant Holliday, the policeman, waved at her. Lifting the police tape, she walked into the crime scene, filled with shattered glass. A white outline of the victim and traces of blood and viscera was all that was left behind. A sheet, a sheet covered the moved body. This wasn't standard procedure, so it could only mean one thing. All right, so first off, you said this was taking place in the city inside a multi-story office building?
No. The first part before the breaking line was taking part in the office building. Now we're moving to the crime scene that's outside of it.
Right, no. I'm just trying to place the location because, okay, so effectively, the amount of force it takes to actually break a office building window is actually immense because the glass is, I don't know where this location is, but in America, the glass is extremely thick and hardened. It is, it's resistant to, it depends on the age. Sometimes it's plexiglass, sometimes it's glass. But either way, it's going to be hardened glass, and incredibly difficult to break. Like, not even someone running full throttle at it would break it.
You'd bounce off. Hilariously.
So, like, we're talking about, like, enough force for this person to quite literally, become a pancake on the glass to break the glass.
Yes.
All right, I just want to be clear here,
Just to be clear, though, I wasn't really going into too much detail thinking about the material of office building glass. I wasn't going for any plexiglass. That's definitely what I was trying to avoid. But it needed to be something malleable, something easily breakable, and something that will be relevant a little bit later in the story.
Right, no, I understand. I was just trying to say is, you might get away with it with a portion of the audience who doesn't realize how tough office glass is. So, I mean, yeah. But the people that are smart enough to know about office glass, you would get a lot of question marks because, like I said, it's sort of like a Hollywoodism. Because, like, another Hollywoodism is breaking a bottle on someone's head of alcohol. The only alcohol bottle that would break on someone's head before the head does is a wine bottle, and only if you hit the person at a very specific part of their head. Otherwise, the head breaks first. It's one of those things that you can, due to the prevalence of Hollywood, you can get away with, but you're definitely spending suspension of disbelief points on it for the rest of your audience.
Fair enough. To be another thing
I will say there are ways to handle it. Depending on how far you're going to like the cosmic horror and like supernatural side of it, right? Obviously, there are ways to deal with it then, like supernatural strength or forces from beyond breaking the glass to kill this fucker. Right?
The reason why I bring it up specifically, though, is he has the police show up.
Yeah.
And the police would know that the force required to break glass like this is far in excessive of what he would be capable of. And so
comment on like, that's fucking weird.
Right. Yeah, you would have to have the police comment on it Or else you're spending even more suspension of disbelief of like, all right, so now also pretend the police are also retarded and don't know how to do their job.
Well, okay, your average beat cop or detective might not know that, but the crime lab people absolutely would.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
they would mention it.
This is a sergeant who's coming in to get briefed on the whole situation, so...
He should fucking know, yeah.
Yeah. So, it's... You can do it, but you have to consider everything around it. It's another one of those situations of the author. This, again, don't get me wrong, this is not a lambasting of you. This is very frequent with authors. They're authors, they're not biologists. They're authors, they're not gunsmiths. They don't know these things, but unfortunately, there is a prevalence of knowledge in the world at this point. And so when you do something like, and as an author, we've seen this before, where the author said that they pulled out their holdout 50 caliber Smith & Wesson revolver.
Oh, the funny machine.
Yeah. In case you're not aware of what a Smith & Wesson 500 revolver looks like, it's about as long as your arm. It's not a holdout weapon, it's not subtle, and it's not easy to hide.
He's a big old boy.
And when it fires, it sounds like sweet, sweet freedom.
I mean, you're right,
Yes.
but listen, there's
God
a
bless.
reason the phrase "is that a gun in your pants or are you happy to see me" originated, and that thing is the epitome of that statement.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I get it. Also, concerning the lambasting statement, listen, I wouldn't be here if I couldn't take a little bit of criticism.
No, I mean, it's, I just wanted to be clear that this is not like, you know, me being like, oh, you're garbage, you're shit, stop writing. This is me being like, this is a common error a lot of authors make. Tom Glancy, who didn't know anything about boats and guns, wrote about those things. He called everyone who knew about those things and did a lot of research. He also... Okay, so the other thing about Tom Clancy, though, is he's really fucking smart, and he was an analysis sort of person who could be told, hey, these are how submarines work. Hey, this is how laminated steel works. And then he'll be able to go, okay, so you would put laminated steel here. You would put sort of counter-rotational force here. You would have rivets in these locations because of the stress factor, and then the government would go, how the fuck did you get our schematics? And he goes, I didn't. I just knew the material the ship was made of, and I know how the ship works.
Yeah. Or how it should work. But don't know.
But yeah, so he was just a very smart person who was good at putting together puzzle pieces from a lot of separated information. And it wasn't just fun. It wasn't just a visit from the FBI once. It was a visit multiple times.
Basically, every time he wrote a book, yeah.
I do remember there was one book where the government was straight up just like, who leaked to you our war plans for the next 7 years? And he's just like, I just made that up out of my ass by looking at the economics of the world.
Yep.
As you do.
Or, you know, you're fucking Kojima, who also does the same thing. but
Except Kojima does it to try to be far out, and then the world, you know, matches.
No, because back when Kojima was making Metal Gear, he did go, okay, theoretically, 20 years into the future, how would certain things look like? And he tried to model it off that. He ended up being very right because he was using actual accurate information back then. But the thing is that Kojima is just so extra about how he models everything that everyone was too busy paying attention to the giant bipedal robots and the meme dog. That they didn't think about the story he was telling until afterwards, and then they looked at the story and was like, wait a second, hold up. Hang on a moment here.
Wait a minute here.
But it took quite a while, about 10 years, for everyone to get past the meme dog to actually read the story of Raiden. Man before his time.
Indeed.
What do we know about the victim, John? Caucasian, male, late 40s, owner of successful banking firm. Not a major player, but wealthy enough to get by. If you're if you have a fucking investment firm of 250 people, you're a little bit more wealthy than enough to get by.
I would say we've covered that. The
Yeah.
point is.
Well, I'm saying it's like now he's contradicting himself. Because, a massive investment paid off, windfall after windfall. Windfall isn't used to be like, oh, we made a whole 10%. Windfall is like, we bet on a penny stock and now it's worth $1. That's windfall. Windfall isn't, we went up 3%. Because Jesus Christ, everyone would be calling everything a windfall then? Is this the windfall of 1977?
Oh, I got a quarter. Pog, this is a windfall.
Yeah, effectively. Let's see here. Oh, where were we? His employees said he was a good enough boss, kind and strict, like a father at times. Sergeant Holliday's blonde hair fell into her eyes as she knelt over the place of impact. The place of impact? Jesus Christ.
People don't generally crater the ground when they hit it. They turn into pizza.
People also don't generally fall out of office buildings, so...
No,
I mean, listen, if
we
someone
were a
falls
little
all
of
the
that
way out of the
funny.
office building, yeah, I understand. You might pray to the floor.
I'm sorry, but my fucking brain is just like 2D side scroller, mouse cursor comes in, grabs NPC, fucking slingshots him, physics breaking through the window, then throws him into the ground.
Yeet!
Gmod gravity gun.
Gmod gravity gun, exactly.
Rise and shine, Morgan Freeman.
Oh, God. She looked up and, sure enough, there was a broken window near the top of the building, just below a pyramidal roof of glass panes. Fancy looking, a sign of prestige and affluence. Ah yes, pyramids, a ancestral sign of prestige and affluence. Especially in
Do you
cities.
think they're not?
I mean, they are. It's just not something you typically see in a city unless you're like Las Vegas or the South with your Bass Pro Shops.
Yeah.
Let's see here. You're not telling me when this death took place, nor why you called me over. It looks like a suicide. Said no policeman ever unless they were being paid off? That's because we're still waiting for the coroner's report. The fall was great enough that very little of the body wasn't shattered or disfigured in some way from the glass shards or impact. Okay, so if you're impacting the concrete hard enough to crack it and leave a crater,
They're just dead.
Well, yes,
there's
they are
nothing.
obviously dead, but you see, the human body, aside from our bones, we're actually more like a walking balloon. And with enough kinetic force to crack the bones, we turn into a very, very fun object called a popped balloon. We saw this on 9/11. Where people would jump out of, the 20th story and higher sections of the building, and they turned into very nice popped people.
Interesting way of putting it, but not untrue.
Yeah. So typically, the cracking of concrete is once again a Hollywoodism.
Oh, absolutely. I wasn't really. Well, I don't want to get into spoiler territory. I guess we can save that for after you read it, what I was intending with it. But we'll get back to that. Please remind me.
Right, yeah, and like I said, the point here is that you only have so much suspension of disbelief currency. You know, you're going into the arcade, you only have $5 in quarters, and you know, you can't play every single arcade game with those quarters. You have to pick and choose where you want to spend those quarters. And, you know, if you're spending suspension of disbelief on the window shattering, and you're suspending suspension of disbelief on this guy's body somehow not popping like a balloon, and somehow cracking the concrete like he's made of lead, and you're spending suspension of disbelief on the police looking at all of this and just going, yeah, this is just like a normal suicide, don't you know? It becomes very, especially because you picked a genre that is not action, that's not adventure. You are picking a genre in which thriller, atmosphere, environmental storytelling is very important. And it's sort of like a debuff to suspension of disbelief currency, where if you have to suspend your disbelief on the environmental storytelling of a thriller story, it starts to become very hard to be invested in the environment. If that makes sense to you.
It stops being a thriller.
Yeah.
And it starts drifting into just regular horror or science fiction or some random superpower bullshit.
Mostly random superpower bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
It's a dream simulation, and that's why the physics don't work right. I mean, maybe. But again, the fact that the police aren't commenting on it, so there is very few circumstances in which you can get away with doing something blatantly incorrect and then pointing it out to the audience of like, hey guys, this thing's incorrect, but I still did it. Ho-ho. You can get away with that in scenarios like the police are now investigating the crime scene, and this incredibly series of unrealistic events has occurred, and the police walk up and go, what the fuck? How did that happen? That's not possible. Or, you know, the coroner's being like, the forces that cracked this pavement should have pulverized his entire body, but he's somehow still intact. You know, someone says something that lets the audience know that all of the characters are also in on this incredibly unrealistic series of events occurring and are agreeing with you that, yes, this is an unrealistic series of events. Don't worry, we're paying attention to it. And then even if you want the police to brush the whole thing off, you then will have to say something like, have the police be like, okay, you know, what do we tell the news? What do we tell the reporters? And then have one other police officer go, oh, just make something up. Say the window was faulty or something, and when he went to lean on it, it fell, and or, you know, it came out of position and it fell with him, and then he, you know, landed on the window, which is what, you know, cushioned his fall or something. You know, like either the police are pointing it out to the audience, or the police are in on it and are obscuring it from the rest of the people in a manner. You have to acknowledge it in some form or fashion, or else people are basically shelling over dollar for the suspension of disbelief for your setup of the story. And if your whole foundation is based on me suspending my disbelief, there's not a lot for me to get invested in.
Okay, I get that. I am going for a certain suspension of disbelief, but from if I understood you correctly, I should space it out a little bit more and at least have some better reactions to it.
Effectively, yeah, because like the foundation for the story, I need to be reading the first sentence of a story to read the first paragraph of the story, to read the first page of the story, to read the first chapter of the story, to read the story. And all of this needs to build on itself. And if the first paragraph of the story is just, there is an office building, and the second paragraph is, and then the guy launched himself out of the office building going Mach 5 into the pavement. I'm no longer sitting here reading more because I'm interested. I'm now sitting here going, huh? And then I close the book and move on.
Fair enough.
And that, again, that's just me personally. You'll obviously be getting people like Max who will just keep reading just because it's in front of him. But, you know, if you're trying to get the wider audience either appealing to a certain universal trope, such as action stories for men or romance for women, but if you're writing a thriller, it's a little bit harder, and you have to pay a little bit more attention to the structure and foundation of the story and how you're selling it to someone. That's so, as much of a trope as it is, the private investigator narrating the dark and stormy night when the long-legged broad walked in, and I know I shouldn't have said yes, but I couldn't help it. She was just so good looking. That whole trope of the, you know, the guy smoking in the office and he's down on his luck and he's telling you about how, you know, he's really got to close a case to make the rent. That's informing the reader why he would accept this case that sounds ridiculous to get him on this path of whatever private investigation story is trying to tell you. It's because it's supposed to build a preliminary bond between you and the narrator, the private investigator, who's spilling his life story.
He's pouring down on his luck.
Effectively, yeah. He's pouring down on his luck. He's just like you, and he's making bad choices because he's got to get money. Effectively.
Just like you.
Yeah. So, phrasing... Yeah, the literal everyman trope. Yeah, phrasing, an investment, just killing someone right off the bat can work, but if you spend the previous couple paragraphs building this person up and then you're like, and then he's dead!
Let's put it this way.
You might as well add an RR to the middle of your name.
Yeah, listen, let's put it this way. Every video game ever been done. All the RPGs, right? Oh, I'm the hero's family. It's such a wonderful family we have. Our city and town is so wonderful. All right, they're all going to be dead within half an hour. And you won't care because you have no connection to them. You haven't built up anything, right? FF7. Aerith's death is shocking and upsetting because Aerith is a party member that you've spent 10, 15, 20 hours playing the game with. She's helpful, she's useful, you know about her, you learned about her, you're mad that she died.
Stop talking about her.
Aerith dies.
No, not in the new one.
Aerith fights it super hard.
Not in the new one.
He's coping. He's coping.
He's coping.
I mean, she's still
Put him down.
Just someone get the coping injections.
Someone get the copamine.
True.
I need a copium stat.
20 cc's of copium. Now, IV drip.
I can't. The EG fans used it all up, Sneaky.
The oxycope. Anyway, let's continue. She looked at her phone. A message came in. One of her colleagues, Detective Sergeant Montgomery, was sending in a rough report of the incident. Around midnight, she said thoughtfully. I'll let it pass. What? The murder happened around midnight. Were there any other people in the building with him? Just the janitor, but he was finishing up on lower floors when he heard the thud. Relatives, okay, we'll look on that. Foul play. Does he have any relatives? Oh, I'll look into that now. No one's gonna wait for the sergeant to tell them to do that. Unless they're corrupt or lazy.
Hold on a
Say
minute.
they're
What,
supposed to be mildly competent at their job.
what time is it supposed to be when they're there investigating the body?
Early morning, I guess,
And
or
this is the city.
Yeah, so basically the first thing you look up the second you can identify the body is the relatives.
No, my point being, if they're still there in the morning and the body's still there, that's wrong. You got about an hour after it happens in the middle of a city before A, the body's found, B, they get a coroner on site to remove the body after they've had the crime scene investigators photograph and mark everything. 2-3 hours tops before the body's gone. She might be there investigating the crime scene, looking at that. But body's gone. It should have done cleared out by then.
And if you don't, and again, if you want the cop that's responding to her questions to know just the basics because he's just there to keep a police lineup, he can say something like, does he have any relatives, wife, children? I don't know. I think they found one or two or something. You'll have to ask, Private Jessup.
Or I wasn't assigned to this case. Sorry, boss.
I'm just here to keep the line. They haven't changed my shift out yet. Sorry, boss. There is ways to do it instead of making, again, the cops look incredibly incompetent here. The body's still there. The coroner hasn't even showed up yet. This could be feasible, again, if you're in the rural area where it's like 45 minutes for the cops to even show up in the first place, let alone to declare the person dead to get a coroner out there 2 hours later because the coroner was actually asleep. In the city, there's going to be a coroner on call 24/7, and they're going to be there within 30-45 minutes at the worst.
Not just that, rural area, someone might not notice for shit until morning. Sure, when they come in first thing,
right? But theoretically,
the
janitor here in the building cleaning. And he reported it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, like, even with that premise of janitor sees the body, calls in, reports it, they're at least going to be 30-45 minutes until the cop gets there, at least another 10-15 before they can finish calling in everything, and they start trying to call a coroner, and it turns out actually the coroner's asleep. He's not answering the phone, so we have to call the town's over's coroner, and he has to drive an hour out here. Rural versus city is wild, but another thing that's important is keeping in mind, don't pull a wild bow. Keep in mind where this story is taking place. Is it taking place in Serbia? Then you're completely fine using Serbia timings for police response and coroner response and how the Serbian police handle a body. Just look that up, include it. Make sure to try and mention that at some point so people know it's going to be Serbia, that they're supposed to be basing their whole references off of. Because an American reader reading an English story is going to assume it's taking place in America. you know how it is. Wildbow made the mistake of thinking that American schools operated the same as Canadian schools, especially French Canadian schools, which he was hilariously wrong about. And there was a lot of points in time in Worm. It's a very popular story, don't get me wrong. The reason why I'm using Worm is because it's basically no one knew who this guy was. He wrote a very long, independently posted story that is full and completed, 1.5 million words. But there is a lot he gets hilariously wrong in the story, and the fans he ended up attracting were idiots. who didn't look at that sort of stuff. So, you know, yeah, basic American things just got wrong. Yep. So, if the story is supposed to be taking place in not New York, then looking up the New York Times for how they operate on the police level, actually possible. And you just kind of, you know, you don't have to be precise with it. You have wiggle room. But, you know, being like, oh, it's been 24 hours and the coroner hasn't shown up yet. It's in the middle of a city. I'm not saying that's what you did, but I'm saying, you know, that sort of situation, it's like, people are just going to be like, well, why is no one claiming the body? That's a little weird. And if it's supposed to be weird, great, fantastic. But if it's not supposed to be weird, then you have a problem.
Well, claiming the body requires they actually notify the family, and to do that, they have to identify the body first, and that can take time.
Well, I meant claim the body from the crime scene.
Ah.
But anyway.
All right.
So,
I have been taking notes, just to be clear.
Oh, yeah.
This has been very helpful.
This looks like foul play, but it could be easily suicide. Said no cop ever.
They wouldn't even begin to speculate.
Very determined suicide.
Yeah, I was just saying, believe it or not.
There are easier ways.
World's most determined suicidist versus God's weakest glass wall.
I would say, believe it or not, despite what
gang-related violence.
Yeah, despite what Hollywood would show us, unless they're being deliberately paid to be stupid, most cops are not stupid.
Yeah. And no private is going to, in open air conversation, be like, it's probably a suicide, sir, but it might be a murder.
Oh, hell no.
As Superior just makes a note in his book, quietly bring up at annual.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, not even at the annual. You must...
Stupid.
The Superior is saying out loud it could easily be a suicide, but it might be a murder. Yeah, no.
Not even.
So why'd you call me for a suicide? I think it's best if you talk to the janitor. I could barely believe it. Maybe you'll get something better out of him. The doors of the glimmering building behind here we're open. What several other officer going to take statements of staff and employees. She could tell it was rather quaint place. Its people were focused on doing their work and led normal lives. You could tell this at a glance because they were the normal people with the normal clothes.
Fucking normies.
There was no signs of breaking and entering. Ah, yes, the classic break, enter, impale someone through God's weakest glass wall, and then spike them into ground. The average breaking and entering.
Oh shit, Sneaky, I didn't realize this was a Donkey Kong breaking and entering.
I didn't realize the tank was training for fucking basketball.
Your Honor, it was obviously Ganondorf with a sword who broke in.
He was going for a stage out.
Guys,
Meteor smash.
Guys, fuck's sake, if you keep going like this, I'm gonna die of laughter. Please, I pulled several muscles, I'm gonna die.
Stuffer.
We're
You would be
glad
the
that we
first.
can inject comedy into this, both because it's good for our show and because,
It helps.
honestly, this is gonna sound weird. We've found people are far more receptive to our criticism when we make them laugh.
Yeah. I mean, that's just in general, but it's also like it builds better memories of, you know, it's like, yeah, you could take criticism and you could accept it completely, and then you write it all down, but like when you think about the podcast, you'll be like, yeah, they said something about like the guy or doing something. I took the notes and they said rephrase it. What do they mean? But if I'm making you laugh, you'll be like, oh yeah, the time he said that my guy looked like it got down smashed by Ganondorf. Yeah, okay.
I've never had so much fun getting criticized in my entire life. Jesus
And
Christ.
that is the goal of the show.
All the things this place would be targeted for, and a great reason to kill the CEO. Wait, what? She could tell it was quaint, and the people here lived normal lives. These are the reasons why someone would break enter and kill the CEO. I'm sorry, do people in Serbia look at a nice, calm restaurant and go, today I'm going to commit a war crime?
Wait, what, you don't?
No.
Oh, hey, look, is that Franz Ferdinand
Jesus
over there?
Christ, jungle diff.
Yeah, I guess it's a difference of culture. A cultural difference here.
It's a minor one.
The building was quaint. I must kill the CEO.
I mean, it's like No More Heroes. You see a giant building, it's quaint, it's normal, but, you know, you gotta kill the CEO, man. It's something you just gotta do. It's
Oh,
anime.
fucking hell, where's that meme?
Don't hate the player, hate the game. It's been rigged from the start.
Here we go. Can I generate this meme? I must log in to submit memes. I don't need to log in. I just need to, I need to search. Let's see if we can't get, yeah, here we go. Okay, so, can I generate this? No, I just, okay, here we go. Top text, bottom text. Trash. Yes. What the? It's not doing the thing. It is not doing the thing.
Skill issue.
No.
Apologies to all Italians out here. Your pasta sucks. It should be broken. And
Do not
you can
apologize to
never
Italians.
never salt spaghetti while you cook it. And pineapple is supposed to be on pizza. Fuck y'all if you Italians.
Pineapple
You're
does
wrong
not
about
go
that
on
last.
pizza. That's an abomination.
Alright, we'll, extend that, make it a little bit, yeah, that's good.
By the way, guys, have you ever had pizza with, not sweet corn? Actually, yeah, sweet,
All
with
right,
corn on it.
Here you go. Here's your
No.
own meme generation image.
The building is quaint. We must kill.
I must kill the CEO.
Well, I mean, he's a CEO. He probably did something to deserve it.
All
That
right,
sounds
hold
awfully
on.
communist from your sign.
Let me fix that. Let me fix that a little bit. Okay, I have fixed the bottom text. There. Oh no, it did not do the export. Copy to clipboard. Copied to clipboard. Paste. There we go. You can now, this is a meme for you. I've made it for you.
Oh boy.
Oh, I saved this. I am going to use this.
Oh, no.
Dimitri, the building is quaint. I must kill the CEO.
I shall return momentarily.
Is Nose even in the... No. I guess Nose is listening to us. From the report, she could see that nothing was taken. It was bizarre to think, but a suicide could be the cause. The other officers directed her to where... What the fuck did you just shout?
I didn't shout anything. I started to say, how can you tell nothing's taken? It's an office building. The time it would take to go through it and find out if something had been taken, you're looking at weeks of investigation.
Yeah, probably. That's why I got away with stealing all of the erasers all the time. The dryer.
That's tiny office supplies. Nobody gives a fuck about that.
I know, but it was great fun. I always hid them in one room, so eventually they would find all 64 dry erase markers. Erasers.
Did you know the dry erase markers at the office are free? You can take them home. I have 400 dry erase markers.
What is wrong with you?
When she entered, the other officers directed her where the janitor was. A few of the younger suits were sent to take his statement. I have never heard a police officer be called a suit.
That's a fed.
Yeah, it's a fed. When she entered the room, it was apparent why they called her. Well, no, you would call the sergeant anyway. She's a fucking sergeant. If it's her fucking shift, she would be called.
Not necessarily.
Yeah?
I mean, she'd definitely be looped in on it, but she wouldn't necessarily, show up just because they're the sergeant.
Oh, yeah, no.
Unless there was something big.
I mean, they are the CEO. So, I mean, does that count for
Well,
something
the CEO,
big?
yeah, that's big enough for sergeant.
Yeah. Man was a shivering wreck, dried out, his hair going gray and falling out. There were several blankets over him, and when he was given a warm cup of tea, he would drop and spill it all over himself. She'd think someone would feel pain from this, but he didn't even...
You good there?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
But he didn't even flinch. Mr. Doffler, I'm Sergeant Holliday. I was sent to take your statement. Are you all right? Can you even speak? I can. His shivers didn't stop even for a little bit. She wondered if this hurt the poor man. They will need to wait for the paramedics to deliver the body back before attending to him. One ambulance showing up.
Doubt.
Maybe. Doubt, though. Yeah. If at any point you don't feel capable, let me know and we'll zoom another time. Now, I was told you were at the scene of the crime and Mr. Borov fell. I made the call. Right. Can you tell me about Mr. Borov? Was he a good boss? Did he have enemies? Anyone that would do him harm? Enemies. You don't become a banker without making enemies. He had more of them than he drank cups of coffee in his life. Anyone that would go out of his way to have him removed. Anyone suspicious? You wouldn't believe me. Your colleague laughed it off as he left the office. I could hear him snickering across the fucking hall. Easy now, calm down. I have reprimanded him for how he treated you. I mean, I didn't. Now, what did you tell him? I'm not crazy, alright? I've never been to a psychiatric hospital, and no one in my family has a history of mental illness. Mr. Doffler, I need you to focus. I need a detailed report of last night's activities. If we're to find the person who did this, we need your help. Can you do this for us? All right, he cleared his voice and took a sip of the frigid tea. The frigid tea that he spilled on himself, or did he have more?
He got another cup. I forgot to add that part. Lel.
It was my closing shift. I always go top to bottom so I can go home sooner. The lift doesn't always work and I get long enough hours anyway. Mr. Doffler, please, the events around the event. What did you see? Right, I went to lock up and I wasn't even aware Mr. Borov is here. As I was about to leave through the main entrance, I heard a wet thud followed by a loud piercing crack, like something shattered. I ran to check out the noise and what I saw. Well, what remained? He inhaled deeply, and his shivering got worse. Miss Sergeant Holliday narrowed her eyes with concern. If he gets any worse, she'll stop her here and have a word with her captain. It seemed unreal. His body was broken, but somehow his face and left arm were whole. The back of his head was blown open. I don't want to think about the lower torso, but his fingers pointed upwards. His face was almost peaceful. He looked mildly shocked. I made the stupid mistake of looking up, and I don't think I could ever forget that sight. The moon turned into a giant six-pointed star. Oy vey.
God damn it.
The six-pointed star was on the surface of the moon.
Yeah. Across the surface was a giant six-pointed star made of cracks and splinters, coursing with painful neon violet, blistering bone-white energy. It pulsed as if alive. In the middle of that star was a crater as impossibly easy to see. Was the moon ever so close to this Earth? Worst part is I could swear the crater had an eye in it, and it was looking at me. I can see the eye. It's looking at me, into me, through me. Make it stop staring at me. Quick. Hold him in place and get those paramedics here. ASAP. It's a bit of a subdued response. She grabbed his legs as they flailed in open air, and her colleague grabbed his wrists. His shrill screams filled the air even when the paramedics came. The paramedics that weren't there? After a shot of morphine, he calmed down, but they still strapped him down for his safety when they took him away. Sergeant.
Morphine.
Yeah, morphine.
No.
Yeah, what's wrong, son? You mean you don't treat the shakes with morphine anymore?
You don't treat hysterics with morphine anymore. In fact, you're not going to find morphine anywhere except in the hospital behind a locked case that you have to sign out for. They don't give that shit out.
I mean, I think I think there is emergency morphine that most ambulances still carry. Simply,
it's not morphine.
It's not morphine anymore?
No, it is. It's a cousin to morphine, but it's not morphine anymore. It's a substitute.
Yeah, because I just remember specifically, like, there was morphine because morphine, like, was the least allergic to medicine or some shit for pain meds. So it was like, if all else fails, we still have morphine, basically. But, you know, I haven't looked at that in about 8 or so years, so.
From what I've heard, they stopped carrying it, at least in the U.S., I don't know about anywhere else, because people kept breaking into ambulances and stealing it.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Or, you know, just straight up walking up to the ambulance with a gun and saying, "Give me the morphine."
I mean, personally, I would give them all of the morphine in one dose.
All at once.
Yeah.
Can I pitch in for a second?
Yeah.
Yesterday I saw a show called From. It's a non-running show, something people lost in somewhere, horrible killy monsters going around. And there was this one woman that went to a cabinet, got a small syringe, and the one without the needle, took out some liquid from a little glass bottle and just poured it down her throat. And when we revisited that scene, apparently it was morphine. The woman didn't even fucking flinch.
No, you die.
Yeah, no, that would no, that's
This
no.
is how you murder someone.
Yeah. God, fucking eating morphine, Jesus Christ.
Do you know what her response to that was? It was like, "Oh, I just took some morphine, to pick me up a little bit,
Morphine to
No.
pick me up. That's an interesting statement. Yeah.
That's the exact opposite.
I looked at it and I couldn't believe what was going on. I thought I had an aneurysm or something.
Yeah,
That's my problem with medicine and stories. If you don't know, it's like fucking computers. If you don't know what you're talking about, it may as well be two people trying to hack something on the same fucking keyboard. No, stop doing it.
No, scoot over. Let me hack. Let me hack simultaneously, Slime.
Hang on.
I'm engaging the algorithm, Sign.
It's literally this.
I'm sorry, what the fuck?
That is from an actual episode of NCIS.
What the fuck? Hold on, I gotta activate the hacking algorithms.
Yeah.
Hey, it's
NCIS
all fucking game
played
until someone
fast and
thinks
loose
spelled
with the
out
rules
means
attack.
fix.
I'm hacking in. I'm doing it, guys. I'm going.
Gibson.
I'm doing it, guys. Oh yeah. I'm coding the hacking algorithms right now, guys.
You sure? Because, I mean, it sounds like you're constipated.
I mean, if you can see the screen, I have Hacker Typer on. So, yeah, no, it just types a bunch of random fucking gibberish about exporting group allocation symbols and shit.
Yeah, it's literally nonsense.
What are some other good ones? Yeah. I can't imagine why the pranks would be, Yeah, oh yeah, here we go. Oh, guys, I'm initiating server connection. The scripts are running, guys. The processes are being cracked.
Oh my god, he's hacking the mainframe.
I'm hacking directly into the mainframe. The compiler's running. The transfer rate's at maximum capacity. Oh, God. You know, I actually put, like, one of the more, NCIS, hacker screens up where it just, like, flashes random windows and has loading bars and shit. And someone legitimately ran to the school resource officer in college and reported me for hacking. And they came over to me, and they're like, you know, what's your name? And I tell them my name, and they look me up, and they're like, they turn to the other person, and they go, yeah, he's a cybersecurity major. That's his homework.
Woo.
It wasn't, first off. Second off, they were just like, oh, cybersecurity major. There's a bunch of scripts on the screen running. Yeah, he's probably doing his fucking homework or some shit.
How disappointed was that student?
They were confused, because they thought hacking was this.
That's because of Hollywood.
I know. Engaging UNAT cohack. Anyway, so they shoot him up with a whole can of morphine, and then Sergeant Holiday looked up, and for some reason she saw the full moon midday.
I mean, yeah, we get that all the time.
You know how during the
Yeah,
day
that-
there's like a
that's-
silhouette of the moon in the
Yeah.
distance?
In the city? No.
Yeah,
Well, we get that here in the cities.
Really?
remember, in the middle of the day, with no light pollution from the city blocking that shit out, it'd be easy peasy.
Oh, I know without the city fucking light pollution. That's what I'm saying. Like, in the city, you're really seeing the moon midday?
Yeah.
If you get the right angle, you know, and the buildings aren't blocking it.
Yeah, I guess. All right. I've never
Yeah,
fucking seen a moon during the day in the city, but all right. Yeah, if you say so.
I ain't capping. It's for real, for real.
All right, ban this man. She lit up a smoke and clicked her tongue. 7 weeks and no smoking gone to waste. Tossing the offending nicotine stick down the drain, she went to go get a ride to the morgue. So she fucking just litters, alright? Damn. Average cop, I suppose. She never liked the metal lids in the morgue. Now, to be fair, I don't either. Just waiting for a body to pop out and grab you.
True.
Yeah, so, going through the rest of this, it looks like a lot of dialogue for the rest of it, not really, setting up any more scenes or anything else. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about this before we, give our final thoughts?
Well, technically, you could skip to the end of the chapter. There is a little bit on page... Sorry. There is a little
Okay.
bit on page 6.
No.
Starting from You Must Be Dizzy. No, from A Bus Ride Home. Basically, just give that part a
Yeah,
look. and
okay,
then
so
we can talk about it.
basically, the person's, riding the bus home, they're getting dizzy, someone's talking to them, they're starting to have their head pound, and sounds are ringing. Ask her about daughters, Sergeant Holiday, do this, well, we might run into each other. Right? So basically, someone's pulling a G-man on her. And, echoey voice, filling her with dread, the night sky moved around him. 6-pointed star inside the moon and an eye in there. Alright, I mean, okay, so... there were parts of the story you did a good job at setting the scene. There are parts of the story where the dialogue was fine. The opening segment, I think, is honestly the worst part of your story, which is very bad.
Understandable.
You go on and on about the office and the people and this guy and what he's doing, and yeah, I get it. He's, he has this whole mental break situation that might be relevant to the rest of the story later on, but we don't really care about him, and you're giving us all these details about him, and then you kill him. And then you give us those same details again, in the vague sense, which is what I recommended for the earlier section. You gave us those same details again when the police show up and you're talking to all the people and you're describing them of like the normal people, normal office, big office, and only one janitor was there during this time period, blah 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 blah. You're using the vague details correctly now when you have the police on the scene retelling us all of the stuff you told us already at the foundation, but now it's actually relevant, and you just wasted a bunch of words in the foundation to do nothing with it. There was parts of the dialogue that are kind of weird. You have the characters acting like Hollywood cops, where they basically don't do their jobs until the camera's on them. You don't really point out that anyone finds it weird that a dude smashed through an office window intact and then somehow fell in a direction on a pyramidal structure that ended up with him slamming into concrete first, and then somehow cratering the concrete, and then somehow a majority of his body still being intact enough that you're able of seeing his face being peaceful. The insane janitor stumbling upon the body and seeing the same things that, you know, he might have seen in his last moments, that's fine. Really should nail down the location of where this is occurring, whether this is in America, whether it's in Serbia, whether it's in France, I don't care. But just nail down where this is occurring and set those expectations for the audience. Because, you know, like we said, in America, the glass is tempered and doesn't break easily. In America, we don't use morphine anymore on hysterical patients. In America, the cops call their relatives first, the second they can identify the body. In America, in a city, the coroner gets there within 20 minutes. You know, if this is supposed to be in a city, then it's going to have city-like reaction speeds to certain things. It's going to have certain policies and procedures. It's going to have, you know, the sergeant's going to be in charge of presenting the case to the reporters instead of the officer on scene, or, you know, the captain or lieutenant's going to be the one doing it, depending on however those procedures go. Well, you can mostly make it up out of your ass, but at the same time, if, you know, regularly, if this is like a CEO that's dead and it's in a city and obviously news reporters are going to be there, why are there no news reporters there? That's kind of weird. Either, you know, you point that out, or you just really, really hope no one pays attention to the fact that a CEO died in a city and nobody noticed besides the cops.
Yeah, I did notice that is a really, really big hole in the story. Honestly, I wasn't paying that much attention to that, so that will be corrected. Yes.
Having the police officer, which I assume is now the main character, you know, see the whole moon thing at the end of chapter 1, I feel like you're rushing it. That's my interpretation. I don't read thrillers too often, but I feel like you've already skipped over a large chunk of Act 1 when it comes to these thrillers, which is denial, where the person investigating rejects the initial explanation of supernatural occurrence and tries to believe that whatever is going on has a perfectly rational explanation behind it. And, you know, Act 2 is confrontation, Act 3 is acceptance, and either they, in true Lovecraftian fashion, die in the end, or join up with the issue, or in some of the stories, rebel against their fate and try and stop whatever's going on. But that's the 3-act structure typical of Lovecraftian story, especially the whole thriller mystery variant of it. And you kind of just skipped right to acceptance. So unless you're also going to kill off the sergeant, like in the next chapter, I feel like you did that way too quickly. Does anyone else want to take the floor of anything else they want to say?
Not really. I think you covered most of it.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm bored. I'm not interested. Where's my plot hook right at the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, that's
And
basically what I said.
killed the guy, so it's an anti-hook at that point. It's like, why should I fucking care? The entire beginning was wasted because the dude's dead.
Yeah, I mean, again, in media res can be useful, but I don't know if in media res is exactly super useful when it comes to a thriller story, and where it's a slow burn mystery.
No, not always. But you could have started with the detective instead, and gone from there, and skipped the entire dream sequence, given us something good to work with the detective, more content on that.
Alternatively, keep the dream sequence. Have that be the opening. And as the guy dies and, you know, shatters or whatever, and he sees the moon doing the funny thing, have the point of view switch back to the sergeant waking up to the call at, you know, 1 a.m. from the first responder, who is, you know, being like, Sergeant, you gotta get down here, you know, Mr. Borov, investment banker guy, is dead. We need to cut the scene off, you know, it's probably a murder.
Have her dream it, you mean?
What?
Have her dream it happen.
Well, you can leave up in the air whether she was having the dream or what's going on with that. But basically, you have this whole dream sequence of where the guy's, like, you know, in this ship and he's fighting and he's crashing on this pyramid and he's climbing to the top of the pyramid and then he falls and explodes. And then she wakes up and she's like, you know, her phone's ringing. She's like, oh God, what the hell? And then she's getting this call about how Borov's dead, and she shows up there, and, you know, the fucking guy's dead, and it's whatever. And then you can, yeah, and then either you can expand on the whole dream being part of what she was waking up from later on, or you can just continue on and have the dream sequence be a cold open.
I'm not sure if I understand correctly what the cold open is, but I was going more for the last moments of this character, this guy Michael. Basically, I was giving a little bit of a preview to what the audience would be seeing, to what the big bad would be, to what the big bad inexplainable would be. It's got nothing to do with her. She's basically going into this blind, and this is just starting to spiral around her little by little, because this thing...
Well, you say little by little, but you immediately ended the chapter with her being in the middle of it.
Well, this is supposed to be one of several cases. This isn't going to be the only murder happening.
Sure, but like I said, the problem is that at the end of chapter 1, she's already seeing the moon and hearing the whispers. Like, you accelerated past literally everything else. Like, she's already going crazy, and the story just started. You know, and as far as what a cold open is known as a teaser sequence. It's a narrative technique used that jumps directly into the story at the beginning of the show before the title sequence or credits are ever shown. So this is typically in, TV shows, movies, etc. And, you know, that's when they lead into the title sequence of, like, you know, it pans into the sky and it's like, you know, DreamWorks logo appears, stuff like that. It's often done on the theory that the audience will be hooked on the plot as soon as possible, reducing the likelihood of them moving away from the story. And so effectively the dream sequence would be a cold open in the fact that it's getting right into the whole point of this story, which is there's something going on with the moon, ? There's some sort of thing happening, weird shit's going on. Aren't you interested? Boom, we cut to, literal smash cut to the cop waking up to being phone called. It's 1 a.m. They're groggy, they're confused. They're being called to a possible murder, possible suicide. It's completely outlandish. You got to get down here, Sergeant, right now. That works better as a hook than this is John Bov. John Bov is good guy. He is very successful guy. He owns big business. He employs many people. John Bov does. John Bov business, very big, very successful business too. He has a big business and he is alone in the big business. Now it is very late. John Bov then starts seeing things and John Bov decides I am going to go rub some water on my face. And now John Bov is fighting against the ocean current blue.
Yarr.
And then he does the whole dream sequence, and then he's dead. And it's like, huh? Like I said, the early part of your story was like going down a flight of stairs and hitting my head on the stairs above me with every step. I'm not, bashing my face into a wall reading it, but I am banging my head on every step on the way down.
Hey, at least it's making an impact.
Yeah, the impact it's making on me is that I'm putting the book down.
Sir?
Nuclear launch detected.
Effectively. So, it would not be a fanfiction show if we didn't torture the author who comes on.
Yeah.
What's your favorite fandom, baby?
What is your favorite fandom?
Oh my god, what's my favorite fandom? Listen, no matter what I say, it's gonna sound horrible. Absolutely no.
No sandbagging now.
Can I at least say which fandom I hate the most?
Go for it.
No. Well,
It's
yeah,
pretty
you
much
can.
the same thing. I love and I hate the VTuber fandom because all of the schizophrenics gather there.
Okay, well, we're talking about actual properties and not failed attempts at female comedians.
Oh, sorry. Supernatural. I fucking hate Supernatural.
Awesome.
Those people.
Supernatural stories it is.
Oh.
I'm gonna go play Minecraft. Have fun.
No, get back here, fucker.
It's even better because guess what? Supernatural is the most popular fan fiction section on fanfiction.net.
What?
4 TV shows.
Vampire Slayer, but I actually love
unsurprisingly, Glee comes right behind it, followed by Doctor Who, Sherlock, Once Upon a Time, and then finally Buffy the Vampire Slayer, NCIS, Vampire Diaries, and then Criminal Minds, and then for some reason Stargate SG-1 at a lowly 30k. Actually, I say for some reason, but I know why it's only at 30k. It's because Stargate SG-1 is an incredibly solid series that needs absolutely no fan fiction whatsoever added to it.
Yeah, listen. Just go watch it.
Yeah. Followed by CSI, Merlin, Teen Wolf, Castle, House, and then finally we get into the actual good shit with House, Power Rangers, Bones, and Walking Dead.
But why Glee? Why is Glee the second?
Teenagers.
Do you really?
Probably easy self-insert.
You see,
here.
we have Supernatural, we have Glee, Doctor Who, Sherlock, and Once Upon a Time, NCIS, Vampire Diaries, and CSI, Merlin, Teen Wolf. What do all of these have in common? Women.
Targeted at prepubescent girls.
No, you would think. No, it's post-pubescent girls.
It's women. Female target audience.
Yeah, so, as with any majority female fandom, we are entering a section of absolute debauchery and disgust. Followed up with a lot of self-insert shipping with the person they find hot. And by God, will women justify anything?
At least Harry Potter dropped off.
No, it did
Thank
not.
God.
No,
What?
it did
You
not
hope
in the
so.
slightest.
Your delusions will not be allowed
So,
to continue.
We have
I would
here
know.
Home is Behind, a humor suspense story, so-called. It has 87 chapters, a whopping 261,000 words. 86 people have reviewed it. Ooh, Jesus Christ. Jesus.
How many chapters?
87. Oof.
That's not a bad word count, but damn, that is a low number of reviews for that many words and chapters.
Yeah, they have only 200 favorites and follows. They have been ongoing for 9, 11, 12 years.
Yes.
Yikes.
How? You just said it was the most popular section.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with women is that they don't tend to favorite, follow, and review stories they don't agree with the ship of. Home is Behind. The laughter fades. The laughter fades after a moment, and Elizabeth's smile follows suit. Then she's leaning forward. Lips are soft as they brush against his own gentle kiss he hasn't felt in 5 years. They shared many kisses before, but this one is a different one. It will be weeks down the road when he is lying in the hospital bed that he realizes what that difference is. This is a Dean times self-insert OC. Yes, the favorite female ship is, of course, Wincest.
I'd like to get off of Mr. Bones' wild ride now, please.
It's unfortunate, because you will not be. Alright, so,
In fact,
we got,
not only can you not depart Mr. Bones' wild ride, for trying to depart
Garbage,
Mr. Bones' wild
garbage.
ride, Mr. Bones will be riding you.
What happens when Dean runs into my self-insert OC? What happens when Dean runs into my self-insert OC? Normal natural. That's right. This is supernatural, but it's an AU where none of that's real. And they run a coffee shop with a girl named Mary.
So it's literally that one episode where they go to the real world, except instead of being actors, it's a coffee shop.
Yes.
No.
Supernatural Storm Travelers, where they meet my female OC, book 1 of 15.
What?
Yes. Let's see what else we got here. We got a Forgive Me, I Don't Know What I Do. Lucifer is back in his cage, and Sam and Dean are fucking each other because they're demons now. Dean
Also, I don't
fucks
think that's
Castiel.
the message you meant to send there.
What the fuck is this? From ethereal to earth, Dean's living the best life exploring the Pokemon Alola region with Sam, Kaz, and all of their Pokemon. What?
That's just graphic, bro. That's
Guys, I don't think this is in the right section.
Dean would legitimately best start again if only because he's going to throw his.
that sounds appetizing compared to Wincest.
Kaz disappears, leaving behind his Pokemon and a Cosmog he calls his kid. Jesus Christ. What kind of past does his best friend have? You know what? That's fair. Actually, you know what? If I had a friend who went around calling a fucking cosmology cloud his child, and then he just disappears one day, leaving everything behind, I too would be like, what did this man do? Did he fucking orc Cloud? Dean would have fun being in Pokemon if he got to shoot them. Yeah. Yeah.
This is why we're not furries, kids. Remember, putting on the fursuit makes you liable for exterminatus.
Just what kind of past does his best friend have, and why do jellyfish things and evil corporation into all of this? Yep, okay. Sam missing, Dean missing, Castiel missing, OC insert, abandoned story, soulmate OC insert. Yeah, I mean, they're all pretty generic, pretty garbage. Ben Braden grows up and becomes a Navy SEAL, and then he meets Sam and Dean, and he becomes a grizzly murder hunter man who hunts down the vampires that slaughtered his family, and Dan, Sam, and Ben all are the bestest friends, and they're all gonna go hunting. Oh yeah, Christina Winchester, the third sister of the Winchester brothers.
Conveniently never mentioned before in any media before.
Conveniently never mentioned before. Yes. Gotta love those ones. Oh yes, I am the missing mystical third sister.
That reminds me of Sherlock, the series, so much, where they just threw in that one random chick that's supposed to be both brothers but better in every single way, and also nuts.
Oh yeah, that bullshit.
Why didn't they just stop after season 1? Why? Why?
You know why.
You know,
No, they could have gone for another 2 or 3 seasons.
Equal to his stormy heart. After losing her first love in the Battle of Hogwarts, self-insert ninth daughter of the Wesley family must share her heart and body again under the new marriage law of slavery. Can she and an equally damaged Remus Lupin learn to protect each other and pick up the pieces? Later, Wilma will cheat on Remus Lupin with the sexy Severus Snape, full of possessiveness and dark forces in the magical world. 89 chapters, romance, hurt, comfort, 371,000 words. 11 reviews, 20 favorites.
Nice.
First published July 1st.
Jesus Christ, what the fuckles?
Women writers. Like,
Welcome to hell.
You should
Enjoy
stop
your
asking
stay.
questions about it.
Like,
Really.
look,
It'll
okay,
only
so-
hurt your soul.
like, guys write really cringy harem power fantasies where they have the super unique hyper power, but they're also Naruto Uzumaki or Luffy, and they're gonna do it right because that character did it wrong. And so they have the super OP hyper giga blood power, and they just destroy all opposition because they're awesome and amazing, and then possibly all of the girls suck their dick. And it's like, all right, that's a cringe ass story. It's dumb. It's stupid. And then you go to women authors, and women authors are like, I'm gonna write a 400k story about me being sexually enslaved to Remus Lupin, who I will then cheat on with Severus Snape after giving birth to his son. And it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Honestly, I think I prefer the male power fantasy.
Yeah. I don't worry. I hope on the first. We're not going to go past the first page. Don't worry. We're going to end it once we get to the bottom of the first page. I really hope we get into some fucking depths of what the female authors come up with, because the justifications we've seen in the summaries alone for why the relationship happens have been fucking out there. Let's see, we got the prodigal son. Yep, I said it right this time. There was never a doubt in my mind, Rufus confessed, leaning over his crossed legs. Oh god, the fucking crossed legs leaning on that. Jesus Christ, the man's casting testicular torsion on himself.
Cursed.
Hmm.
Wine.
Hey, it's all fun and games until he casts mend butt crack.
Yes. Wine lapping dangerously at the edge of his goblet. None at all. With a sigh, Crouch Sr. pinched his nose. Wasn't it on the minds of each of his colleagues when they saw him, regardless of how if they found him pitiful, cruel, or negligent, or worse? If not for Barty, it would have been him. Barty Jr. times OC.
But why though?
Yeah. Mystery never means good. With one thief on the loose and trouble-making students, it's bound to be an interesting school year. OC self-insert female is figuring out her mystical magical heritage of ultimate power and what the future of the wizarding world will bring, all while trying to stop dark machinations of adults 3 times her age and a dark timeline ahead of her, and because magic is not all that it seems and she's actually more powerful than she thinks.
Male author.
Possibly. Let's actually take a dip into their... Okay, so they wrote a gay story, that story, and that we just read, and Wrong Boy Who Lived, AU. Male author.
Yeah.
Possibly gay, but male author. Discovering Darkness by White Magic 17. On the fateful night Ron and Hermione were abducted, the wheels of destiny began to spin. For Harry, his friend's abduction shattered the illusion that the forces of good could safeguard those who belong to the light. Now, he stands at a crossroads. Embrace the teachings of darkness or risk losing all he's ever held dear. Can Harry protect those he loves without losing himself?
I have a solution to this problem. It is a 1911.
Yes.
Have you considered getting
19 chapters,
Nice.
100k words, 51 reviews, 39 favorites, updating since 2016. Jesus Christ.
Oh wait, no, he's in Europe.
That
What's
is...
the favorite gun in Europe? Is it the bullpup? Is that the meme gun in
Yeah,
Europe?
that's the bullpup. Yeah, so 1911 anyway.
I mean, yes, but
No.
are 1911s hard to find in Europe? Honest question.
Probably not.
I mean-
Depends on your European country, because most of them
Well, I
have
mean, this is
banned guns or.
this
Yeah.
is Britain, so
Yeah. No, it's
Well,
Serbia.
yeah, you're not going to be able to get it. Unless somebody has one as an old service pistol, they haven't.
Well,
you know,
you might
boomed
be
yet.
able to get. Well, no, you can get a shotgun fairly easy as a hunting
I'm pretty sure-
license.
I mean,
I'm
true. You'd
shotgun
probably
or
also be able to
rifle,
get a
yes.
SIG, because I'm sure someone out there's probably got a SIG just as a James Bond souvenir,
That's fair,
without
yeah.
actually knowing what the fucking guns and pod do.
SIG, James
SIG,
Bond.
yeah.
What?
Exactly. That's my point.
Yep. Anyway, so enough about nose not knowing enough about guns to trigger sign. Let's talk
Nonsense.
more about let's see, the fourth curse of ancient times. Harry must team up with Hermione to save the world once more. 26 chapters, 148k words, 12 reviews, 19 favorites. Jesus. So we said the Harry Potter section wasn't dead. The Harry Potter section isn't dead in terms of authors updating their stories. The Harry Potter section is exceedingly dead when it comes to actual people participating. Because this is anemic. This is like these stories all have like 30 people that favorite and follow them. Like this is bad.
It's dropped off a lot, I guess.
This is good.
Vow of Control. This is not my story. One chapter, 636,000 words.
Oh, how many?
636,000. One chapter. New goal for Sign, I suppose.
Okay, look, yeah, sure. I could just collect all 20 or more chapters and throw it into one if you really want, but no, that's awful.
Adriana Black and the Thread of Life. The year before she began Hogwarts, self-insert OC, mothers died, and Malfoys took her in. Adrienne Black thought things couldn't get much worse. She was wrong. Now one friend hates her because of her house, Slytherin. Another friend is missing at all hours of the night, and her father's a murderer. That's right, she's Sirius Black's secret daughter that he had while he was in prison.
You just find like the weirdest shit, huh?
But at least she has the chance to get answers. Year 3, Cyrus daughter AU times Harry Potter.
I can't wait to see what horrors Zoomer talk is gonna bring to fanfiction.
It's actually quite fascinating. You see, it won't, because you see, Zoomers are illiterate.
Based and true, actually.
Yeah, and so while you do see a lot of garbage out there, the typical Zoomer attention span combined with the high illiteracy rates, like I'm not even like joking about this one. There was a recent study done back in like 2021. That they looked at the literacy rates of 4th graders and 6th graders and found that like 70% of 6th graders had like a 3rd grade reading level, and that like 40% of 6th graders didn't have a reading level.
Oof.
So when I say Zoomers and Gen Alpha are illiterate, I'm not joking. I'm being 100% serious. They are literally illiterate.
Okay, so you're not wrong. I want to be very clear on that statement. You are not wrong. But that problem is not like, I remember kids in my grade absolutely fucking failing to read. Like,
Reading did not exist for some kids.
No, I understand, and I mean, okay, well, first off, you can't really use that against me, because if you're going to use that against me, I just point to what the millennials have been producing for the past, 5 or 6 years now. You see all these millennial written shows, all these millennial written movies and millennial written games. Are you really gonna sit here and tell me, oh, well, the millennials were illiterate too, therefore you're wrong? Because
No, we weren't illiterate.
because I'm right.
Hang on, I'm next.
I keep forgetting this because we don't really have those kind of generational definitions in Serbia, but
Yeah, well,
I'm
we
just-
only have, like, you know, times 60-year population, so.
Oh, I'm 97th generation. What do I fall into?
97, you are a Zoomer.
Fuck.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, 97 Zoomer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what year were you born?
1997, January 26th.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say
Said
that's
year, not
more.
date, but yeah, that's Zoomer.
Yeah,
96
Zoomer.
onwards is Zoomer.
Some
Is
even
Fuck.
argue 96.
Yeah, like I said, 96 and onwards.
Yeah,
Oh, 96 is the cutoff. How
Yeah.
unfortunate for you.
yeah. He is, in fact, a elder Zoomer.
Who?
The oldest among the Zoomer council.
This is
You realize that as the oldest of them, all of their sins are yours.
Yeah, so you bear the
Yes.
cross.
It is most unfortunate for you.
but
You'll
I
be-
don't even play lacrosse.
You will be sentenced to Ohio and then deported to Brazil.
Hey, at least
Hang
I'm
on
not.
a minute. Hang on a minute. If we're sending him to Ohio, don't send the poor bastard. If we're sending him to Brazil, don't send the poor bastard to Ohio first. That's just.
Rural and
There are
unusual.
worse choices.
But Atin, my note cards here say he must first greet the Rizzler with the Skibbity Toilet Gyat.
I'm going to kill you.
I will find you and kill
Kill
you.
all of you and then myself.
Me when I
just
hit you.
said.
I understand
Listen.
the words you said. I regret that I understood them.
There are words, but I didn't understand them, and it hurt, and I think I lost sanity points. To more sand damage.
Let's see what else we got here.
You guys aren't going to be paying for the tickets that you're going to be sending me to the places.
Oh, no.
No, don't do that.
So I don't have to pay as much. Could you at least send me, instead of Brazil, to Bulgaria? It's pretty much the same thing, same screams of the damned, same poverty.
Oh, no. You see, we send you to Brazil not because we want to damn your soul or anything. We send you to Brazil because I want you to suffer.
Also, we want Brazil to suffer.
Exactly. It's a win-win.
Huh.
For us, not for Brazil.
Yes.
Feel bad about sanity, though. That boat's just stuck there.
I mean, you're sending a Serbian to Brazil.
I don't see...
Wait a minute,
Yeah.
I've read this before.
No, I see this as an absolute win. Oh, yes, here we go. The Bachelor of Hogwarts. Severus was bored during a Quidditch game and made a bet to date the first student he sees. Now he is forced to go on a series of blind dates until he wins the bet or a woman captures his heart. Can Hermione, his fucking student, help him get out from Minerva's thumb by pretending to be in love with him, only to find out that secretly Hermione and Severus secretly loved each other the whole time? Read this story to find out.
Cursed.
I don't even know where to start with this. other than that-
46 chapters, 106,000 words, 253 reviews, and
I'm gonna
77
need you
favorites.
people to stop empowering the ghost of Sigmund Freud.
No, we need him to generate rotational energy.
No can do.
Yes.
Well, Saddam Hussein turning in his grave isn't gonna generate enough energy to power all of these fanfiction servers.
Yes,
So,
well. Anyway, that is unfortunately the bottom of the page, and so therefore I shall release you from the chains of bondage that is this server. And I hope you have learned something, like the fact that your story, despite its flaws, is nowhere near the worst thing posted on the internet.
Thank
But anyway, to the rest of you, I hope you come back, because there's always more, and it always gets worse.